All right, here we go, baby. Round two.
Episode number 2, baby.
Man, y'all didn't think we'd be back. I don't think anybody did. You know? Dude, we got a cool-ass guest today. You know who's to my right?
Hey, everybody. I'm Drew Aston. I'm here with Jay Spitzer. And this is episode number 2 of Something Like Sober.
Something Like Sober, man. We got a hell of a guest today. My boy, mentor, brother. Dude, I love this guy on my left, Mr. Damian Vickers. Let's put the camera into Damian. Say what's up to the crowd, Damian.
What's up, y'all? Thank you, man. I'm really grateful to be here.
Yeah, we're grateful to have you, man. I think we were talking about we come into this podcast without any fucking idea what we're gonna talk about, which is kind of keeps it kind of cool.
Yeah,
I think.
I was talking to my wife about that before. She's like, "Are you nervous?" And I was like, "A little bit," but like my approach also is I just like don't think of nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't pre-think anything.
Yeah.
Just like let it get weird.
Because that's when it gets.
Let it get
fucking-
weird, man.
Yeah.
Let it get weird.
Yeah.
I think when you think too much is when we start. It's like me like sharing or anything at all. I start tripping out in my fucking mind, dude. I fuck shit up real quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You start, trying to focus on everything that you need to say or want to say, and you start jumbling everything up or mixing your thoughts together. But, the way Jay and I have kind of approached this whole thing is just letting it happen organically.
Yeah.
Start telling stories, start talking about, what our lives are looking like. And, it's funny how just conversations just sprout out of that. And, the hour goes by faster than we ever thought. But, it's really good. This is the first time we've ever met, Damian.
Yeah.
And, I'm really interested to kind of hear a little bit about your background and your story and, what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Go ahead. So I was going to say real quick before you start on that is I do want to say to the people who have reached out after watching the first podcast on here, thank you. That's awesome. We got some really cool messages from people across the United States even, guys that are in sober living, some dudes from like Oxford houses, like in random places, dude. A guy from Louisiana reached out and just like told me and us some of his story, which is really cool, and was like, man, I've been looking for something just to like listen to while I'm at work and like that makes sense to me. So like shout out to you people who are reaching out. Brittany, who also reached out, I want to let you know that we will touch on some stuff in terms of like the family. A girl reached out and she was like, hey, my brother's an addict and I just want him to know that we love him as the family. Like we're probably the only ones that like grab onto like any more hope. Everything like we're doing is out of love for him, but like that love doesn't go away. So we will touch on some of that, and I'll even we'll let you get on some of that too. So, but first, we want to get to know Damian. Like, dude, let us know like how you became a drug addict, bro. Like, what did that look like?
I think I was born a drug addict.
There you go.
I don't know.
There you go.
That's my understanding now. But I definitely had a story coming into this of like why I became a drug on some like it was my when I grew up, but yeah, basically, I mean, I grew up in. Do you want me to like start from the beginning?
Sure, dude. Why not?
Okay, cool. I grew up in Hollywood, Florida. There's some like drug addicts and alcoholics in my family. Like we have like I don't want to get too much into like my family stuff. I just like I think it's like cool to kind of stay out of that. But basically like. I started smoking weed like everyone else. Like I just wanted to be cool. Like I had like big cousins. I was thinking about that on the way here. I was like, it's kind of like my big cousin Corey was kind of like my idol growing up. And like, it's probably why I look this way. Like he has like face tattoos. He was like gangster fucking dude. And he's like, I think he's like 10 years sober now, like owns sober living houses. So he kind of like guided me in and then he kind of like guided us all out at the same time. But yeah, started smoking weed regular, just, I remember my friends started smoking weed, and like I told my mom I wanted to smoke. I grew up in like a house where my mom was like, "You could do what you want, like if you're gonna do it, be smart, be safe, like just kind of like let's keep communication open." And she was like, "I don't want you to smoke weed till after 8th grade." Like which I don't know if that's good parenting, but like,
hey,
hold off.
at least there was some boundary.
Yeah.
I think she saw my trajectory.
Yeah.
Because it was like I wasn't like a super good kid in school. Like I remember I got like voted vice president in like 8th grade and
Of your class?
Yeah, and then the principal was like, he can't be that. Like they kicked me off, like, and they were just like,
You got vetoed.
yeah, they were like, you can't just pick him because he's funny, like, he's not gonna do nothing. And so I remember like graduated 8th grade, right? Like basically like they let me out of that school, and that day I smoked weed, because I was like, I'll respect my mom, but like definitively it was like I wanted to do drugs. Like I wasn't like the kind of like I wanted to do drugs. Like once I knew about drugs, I was like, I can't wait to do drugs. You know, and so I remember I like smoked weed, and I've always had like really like drugs affect me profoundly. Like even like a little bit. Like smoking weed for me was like fully tripping. Like I remember I like smoked weed at this party. I thought I got shot when fireworks went off. Like I like fully hallucinated, you know? And I remember I was like so high, and I was at this girl's party, and her mom came in the bathroom. I was just like covering my face, and she's like, Damian, she's like, what time is your curfew? And like, I didn't even know what that word meant. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have one of those.
What the hell are you talking about, lady?
Like, I just got to go home eventually. You know, like by Monday, I got to go home. And like, I remember like at that day, I was like, this is what I do. You know, like this is it. And it wasn't like, I don't know if that was my like come to Jesus moment of like I have arrived, because smoking weed's never been like my huge thing, but it was just my like foot in the door, you know. And then after that, it was like, okay, what can I find next, you know? And I remember, I think really like the first one that did that for me was probably drinking. Like my first drink was definitely like, whew, I could breathe, bro, you know, because I was like wound tight.
Sure.
I was like, it was like I felt I want to say I was like insecure. I felt just off, bro. Like I was just always one of those, like I feel off in the world. But I didn't show up that way because I had like a big, loud personality. So I was like class clown and big shit. But I always felt, I didn't feel the way that I presented. I remember when I drank, that was the first time I was like, damn, bro, I feel like that dude.
How right in the world.
Yeah, how old were you though?
I was probably like, how old were you in 8th grade?
Shit, 14?
Probably 14. I remember we drank a St. Ives special brew. It was like a 32 ounce of like, you know, flavored malt liquor, bro. It was like blue. I remember we went to the beach. My friend Arneal, R.I.P. He passed away from oxys later on. And I remember we were like my friend and her sister, and like I also was like hella nervous around girls. Like that was like not my shit. I wasn't like smooth with the ladies, you know. I was just like clunky in that department. And so I remember I like drank, and I just remember like being at the beach and just being fearless, bro. And then I like made out with my friend's older sister.
Oh hell yeah.
You know, it was just like one of those nights where I was like, damn, bro, this is real. And then I woke, so it was like I remember kind of making out with her. Then it was like cut to the morning, and my friend Arneal's mom came in the room, and she was like, you okay? And I'm like, not really clothed, you know, and I'm in the wrong room, and I was just like, yeah. She's like, well, you threw up last night. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry about that. She's like, yeah, I came in the room. There was throw up everywhere. And I asked you what happened. And you said someone came in and threw up all over you. You know?
Someone did it to me?
Yeah, bro. And that's how I drank the rest of my life. Like, I black out, I throw up, and I fucking lie to you. You know, like, that was it. That was kind of like, that was my move. And I've been a blackout drinker since day one, you know? And if you're, I don't know if y'all black out when you drink, but it's just like, it's a weird way to live, because you're just like constantly waking up and having to like reverse engineer reality to figure out like damage control. You're like, okay, I'm missing my shoes. I got someone else's keys. There's a baked potato in my pocket, and I'm in Kentucky. You know,
Hold on. That's like a fucking hangover moment for those movies. We're like, what the fuck? How did we get to Bangkok?
Yeah.
You know?
And you know, I think that's kind of a weird thing that is different between all different alcoholics.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I was a blackout drinker, but I remembered a lot of my, you know, I would be more of like bits and pieces.
Yeah.
But, you know, for me, it was just like I'd wake up and, you know, people would be calling me and they'd be like, hey, we're here for that meeting. And I'd be like, what meeting? What are you talking about? So, like, did you ever have periods where, like, you would drink all night and actually be able to remember anything that you did? Or was it usually like
yeah, there'd be a certain point where there'd be a certain point where just the lights would cut off.
Yeah.
But my body would keep going, you know?
Yeah.
And it could do amazing things. Like, there was times I'd be blacked out, my body would play the piano, you know? Like, my friend would be like, yo, you played the piano last time. I'm like, bro, I don't play the piano. You know what I mean? Just like wild shit. And you know, and then it also did like, you know, just humiliating stuff. Like, I'm definitely like a piss in your bed kind of dude. Or in your closet, or I'm always,
dude, you fucking y'all alcoholics are wild, dude.
It's the worst.
It's like, because I don't.
The worst.
I mean, I drank, and I had, but it was like, I think I only stayed on the level of like what college kids do, which is like wild and crazy kind of shit. But it's like, we got rowdy, but it wasn't like, I mean, the shit y'all are talking about. I don't remember like blacking out, not waking up. But I mean, don't get it wrong, I'm a drug addict, period. You know what I mean? So like, the closest I can get is like whenever I would take Xanax and then wake up with the potato in my fucking pocket.
bro.
Yeah, I mean, right? No, I mean,
Dude,
like the
take
Xanax.
Xanax, I wake up and I'm like, whose shit did I
steal? Yeah, dude.
There's other people's shit in my room.
You know what's wild about fucking Xanax though? Is like you take Xanax and you go into like Walmart and it's not even like I would steal something cool, bro. I would come out with like fucking Sonicare toothbrushes, some toothpaste, and some like
6
mint.
pairs of sunglasses.
Yeah, like the wildest shit, bro. It didn't make no sense. But anyways,
it was progressive, you know, like, and it didn't start like I didn't black out every time I drank in the beginning, you know, like it definitely was progressive. And I think from drinking, you know, like that was like really, and then like Xanax came in, you know, it was like Xanax, and Xanax was terrible. Like I never was like a big super Xanax guy because just I got violent on Xanax. Xanax was like one of the few drugs where I'd like get in fights and shit. And that I wasn't really all about that. That wasn't like the life I was trying to live. Even though I thought it was cool and tough, like at the end of the day, like I didn't want to end up in like prison or, you know, it was just like, it just wasn't my drug. And then, you know, growing up in South Florida, eventually the pills hit. It was like Pill Mill Central down there. And I remember, I think it was my cousin Corey. He broke both his feet and I think they gave Loratabs, them green ones. Yeah, them green beans. And I remember he gave me one. And so here's one thing. So I didn't know about alcoholism. They don't teach you in school that you can become addicted to alcohol and that there's a detox from it, right?
Hell no.
People know that heroin does that. Like, but alcohol, no one ever told me you can detox from alcohol. Not till much later in my life. So it was like, I drink every single night, you know, and like what I think is normal because everyone I hang out with is a drug addict, alcoholic. And so it's like when I wake up, I have this like insane anxiety. You know, like I'm detoxing from alcohol. So I'm just like crawling out of my skin. And then shaking real bad. And I would hold, you know, I'd smoke weed all day trying to hold it off, but it just made it worse basically. And I would just hold as long as I could till I could drink again. And I remember, I think it was, it must have been earlier in the day when he gave it to me. Cause I remember he gave me some of those and it kind of pulled that whole thing off. And opiates really gave me that feeling. Like when I did opiates, that's when I was like, this is for me. That's because I wasn't sloppy. I wasn't sloppy.
Yeah, me neither.
Like there was no blacking out. I'm not gonna pee on your couch. You know what I mean? Like I did opiates. It gave me energy at first. It gave me confidence, bro. I could talk to people because especially getting further into my addiction, it's like I'm isolating more and more, which makes me worse at communicating with human beings because I only hang out with like a small circle of people. So it's like things are getting weird. My anxiety's raising. My brain. Like at one point I had some brain I did like acid habitually for way too long and really, really cracked my brain like on some fucking like drug induced paranoid schizophrenic shit. Like some meth head like fill your, you know, like all the electric holes with toilet paper. My mom's in the FBI shit.
Yeah, government's watching.
Oh yeah. You got cameras in your teeth. Like, this would have been a nightmare. This is what I thought was going on at all times.
Right here.
Yeah. And the opiates just pulled all that off, man. And that was the first one where I was like, I not only does this do what I need it to do, but I think I could live a normal life.
Oof.
Like this will give me a normal life for the first time.
That's the trap.
Yeah, that's the trap. Well, and and they set the hook because you're like, it gives me energy, it makes me everything. It does all
everything better.
It's all the things, bro. I have sex better, I work better, everything. Like literally, it sets the hook so good, and you're just like, this is it, man. I don't know why everyone's not. I don't know why they don't just give this to you.
Why have I not been living my life like this to begin with? You know.
Yeah, this is my medicine.
Yeah. I wonder if it makes you think though, like take yourself in that moment when you're realizing that this is what the opiates did for you. Yeah. Is it like, are you thinking in your brain? Is it like, this is what I'm missing in my life that everybody else must have that's happy type shit? That like they're operating on a higher level of some type of fucking frequency, I guess, or whatnot. And I'm missing this piece, or is it like? I mean, are you feeling? I mean, I don't know how to. I guess I'm trying to figure out how to frame that. Is it like you're missing this, and damn, this is what I need to be like everybody else to experience that type of happiness and to experience all of who I am, or is it like, damn, this is gonna fuck with me down the road? You know what I mean?
That's how I felt. Yeah, I felt that like there was something initially wrong or missing from me. There we go. And I felt like I had found, like my entire life, you know, I can relate to a lot what you said, Damian, is that like I made up for a lot of my own self-consciousness by being a boisterous, like confident, outgoing guy. Yeah. But on the inside, no matter what happened, I was always just like, man, I felt like the odd man out. Not necessarily like because I was, but there was just something wrong. There was something missing. Yeah. And so I just grew up initially just believing that I was built different than other people. And I felt that when I drank, it was like all of a sudden I had connected those wires to make me just like everybody else, or to make me like that person who I so longed or so wanted to be like.
Yeah.
You know, so for that, like you said it the best, it was my medicine. Yeah. I was sick. There was something wrong, and alcohol is what made me right.
Yeah, it didn't feel to me like it was like a limitless pill. Like I was normal, and it made me better. It felt like it finally brought me up to the level of normal, because I'd watch normal people.
Yeah,
you know, like I'd like sit outside sometimes in my neighborhood. I'm like, how do they do it? Like they're just walking. A slice of pizza,
right?
And they don't look like they're tripping. They look like they're just chilling.
Yeah,
and that's not me. You know, I'm walking down the street and my head's going a million miles an hour. Like there's no peace. There's no peace in my life, and that's really what it brought me, was some peace, bro. A little bit of peace, but not for long.
Yeah, not for long.
It's a trap.
But it's a big trap.
It's the ultimate.
How long
trap.
did that? What? Okay, so how long did that last? How long did you? It was like where you you felt that like, damn, okay, this brought me to this is how you're supposed to be.
Well, see, the thing for me is that in the beginning, I used it. How I would use it is exactly how it worked. Was I would drink at night, and then I'd pull back the alcohol withdrawals with the opiates. So I do opiates during the day because I didn't like mixing them, because then I'd get like dizzy, which I didn't like. So I do opiates and I do alcohol, and that's kind of like, that was kind of my pattern. Like I'm really like an alcoholic, opiate addict separately. I do them very separate when I do them.
It's
I'm either
interesting,
like I'm either like a junkie or I'm drinking, and it's usually because I'd come off heroin eventually with alcohol, and I'd come off alcohol with heroin, and so it's just like that loop lasted me till I was 33.
Damn.
And then some blips.
Yeah.
Between time.
Then the fun started. Yeah.
So it you know, and so I didn't get like, because at that time I was just getting them from people, you know. So I was like getting them, and eventually Florida. So I figured out young that Florida was the problem, obviously. You know what I mean? Like,
Florida.
Yeah, I had to get out of Florida, bro. Florida has drugs. Florida's obviously making
and it's just
weird.
Florida.
We are a product of our environment.
It was just my hometown. I was like, there's something wrong with this place. You know, I definitely got to get out of here. And my dad had moved. He had moved out to California, and so I had this teacher, and she had like kind of seen me. Come to find out in the future, she's like in the program. Her whole family's in the deal. And so she like kind of brought me outside one day, and she's like, hey, I heard your dad moved to California. And I was like, yeah, he did. She's like, listen, you should just like go. You know, like you should go there. You should get out of here. Like, because my behavior was super bad. I got kicked out of high school and all that. And so I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to go to California. And I remember writing my mom this letter. She still has, and it's like, I'm going to change, like just frothy emotional appeal. You know, like this is going to fix me if I can just get out of this place, man. I think I could fix all this.
And that's the crazy thing about addiction is that I'm willing to bet that you could have been hooked up to a polygraph for a lie detector test, and you would have passed that with flying colors.
Yeah.
You believe that wholeheartedly. Yeah. That, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to change my life. I can do this. Like, all I needed was just a change of environment, a hard mental reset, and I've got this thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I did that, and I won't bore you with everywhere I moved to, because the story gets. I hate telling it because it's so boring. But I moved everywhere. Like I traveled almost continuously for like 15 years. I was like, I can't find the spot, bro. You know, it was like Arizona, Oregon, Montana. I'd go to cities, and I'd go out to the woods, and I'd move to the desert. Like, I was like, if I could just get to the spot where I find peace, there must be a peaceful place on this planet for you, you know?
Yeah.
And 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 that's crazy. The delusion that it took me like 3 decades of human existence to be like, damn, dude, I drag around my problem every single place that I go, you know? And so it was like at 21, so a whole bunch of stuff happened in between, as it does, you know what I mean? Like things were getting worse and worse. And I remember I had a dealer out in California. I'm still doing pills. I'm doing like oxys, but they were so expensive out there. It was crazy because they're so cheap in Florida. And I was doing all these pills.
Where was in California?
Yeah, I was in LA.
They were expensive in California compared to Florida.
Yeah, dude. They were crazy expensive.
Dude, I got white duded or whatever you call it for a while. You know what I mean? Like, look at me, dude. Yeah. They were like, bro, you're gonna pay $35 a pop.
Yeah. It was like 80 for an 80 out there.
Yeah, it was $1 milligram.
Yeah,
Oof.
it was killing me.
Yeah.
And she left. I remember she just like disappeared one day, and I also didn't know that there was a detox from opiates, right? Because this is just like stuff that I guess you should know that I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't either.
No, no, it's just like, this is magical. You just keep. First off, I never thought about not doing it, so I would not ask a question like, "What happens when I stop?" Because stopping was not a thought.
Right.
You know. And I remember she left, and I got the flu real bad. I was like, damn, I feel bad, bro. Now I can't sleep. I remember I was like, dude, what's wrong? And someone's like, oh, it's probably because you're coming off these pills. And I was like, I need to get more. I couldn't find him. I called this kid who I'd met who was sober. And I was like, hey, man, my drug dealer left. My drug dealer left. I'm super sick. What do I do? And he's like, you go to rehab. I was like, what's that? And he was like, I'll send you a number of a place. And I was like, cool, man, bet. Like, done. I just wanted to not be sick. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know what any of this was. I was like, okay, cool. I called my dad. I was like, Dad, I've been doing drugs. I'm sick. I need to go to rehab. Here's a number. We like called this place, set it up. I had a roommate who was my cousin. I was like, yo, you got to bounce. I'm going to rehab. Like, it just had gone too far. And at this point, we were living in this place called The Box. It was like
The Box?
Yeah, bro. The Box was infamous. It was in like Hollywood, California, and like this like, bro, when you think of Hollywood, California, you think it's like this like
glamorous.
Bro.
Yeah.
It's not glamorous.
Not the case.
No, dude. It was like not the fucking movie.
It's The Box.
It was
bro.
7 feet wide by 14 feet long, and there's 4 of us that live in there. Like, you could touch the walls. It was like an old, I guess they had like a swimming pool, and so this would have been like where the bathrooms were. Like, at one point, there was these drains in there that cockroaches came out of, so we put a tent on the bed and we duct tape it because there was roaches everywhere, bro.
Yes.
But this is like one of the most fun times of my life.
I know. That's what's wild about
yeah.
that, though, too. I get that.
Because we were like, man, because we're from Hollywood, Florida. I moved my brother out, my cousins out. Like, we're just like these kids from Hollywood. We're in Hollywood, California, you know, and like, we're just like bums, bro.
Yeah.
But living it up.
Living the dream.
Yeah, we were like famous bums because we like lived on this street where like everyone knew us because we're idiots. And so I went to detox. I learned, you know, everyone was like, and I went there like, man, I eat like 12 Vicodin in the morning, you know, and I was like, it's pretty hardcore for my friends. I remember I went there and they were just like, oh yeah, you just like eat pills. Like,
they're like, whoop-de-doo.
You're not a drug addict. I was like, what do you mean? You know? No, I do a lot of different stuff. And it's like some dude who like has been shooting dope in his neck for like the last 50 years. And I didn't learn anything. There was like, I just like went there. I needed to reset again. You know what I mean? I was just like, I don't want to be sick. I went through the thing. They sent me to a sober living. They sent me to this house. It was just like it was out in some bizarre place. Everyone there was a Nazi from prison, you know, like, and I was just like, okay, like I guess I'll figure this out as we go. And basically like got out. 5 days later, I went to open the door of the sober living house and there was a dude about to shoot heroin, you know? And I think his thought process, and I'm hypothesizing, was that like, he'll tell on me. But if he gets high, then he can't tell on me. So he's like about shooting, and he like looks at me, he's like, you ever want to do heroin? And I was like, hell yeah, bro. I've been wanting to do heroin, you know? I just didn't know where it was. Like for me, like, especially like growing up, like listening to Nirvana, like all these people and these like authors and everything I wrote, like really for me, like heroin was like the peak of the mountain. Like I wanted to get there. I had to like traverse the road of the dirty underground. You know? I'm like, so I did that, and that was, you know, and that started the rest of the downhill spiral from there.
So going into that, like when you saw him, you know, with heroin about to shoot up, were you trying to get sober at that point, or were you just pretty much just trying not to be sick? You were just trying to.
I didn't even know what I was doing, man. You know what I mean? Like they just kind of threw me in. That's why I like feel for people that get like really tossed in early, you know, because I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah, I definitely wasn't like I want to get sober. I was just like I don't want to be sick, you know. And then they were like, well, you have to go to sober living, right? Yeah, because who knows why? Because that's just the process of how we do this thing.
Because we want more of your money.
Yeah. You got to go to this house because it's my buddies. You know, like,
it's the networking part.
It just is what it is, you know. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. I guess I'll do the process. Like I was open to first off, there was like a bunch of cool young people, like. People were trying to get their lives better. I think I was interested, you know, at bare minimum. But then once I realized that everyone was just getting high, then I was like, oh, this is cool too. I guess I'll just do it this way at this point, you know. Yeah, and that just like, and then the rest of the story is just I would do heroin. I'd get off it by drinking, you know. And during this time, it's like I wasn't homeless, and you know, by the end I had some stints with this kind of stuff, but it's like with heroin I worked in the movie industry, like I was a rigger. I was able to like, you know, use a little bit to not get sick, you know, then at lunch maybe just use a little bit, and like I could hold it together. So I was like, damn man, like this is working.
Yeah,
I can hold a job. I'm making some money, you know, like this is not bad. But then, you know how it goes.
Hell yeah.
You worked and did dope, right?
I did a lot of dope, dude.
And then it slowly pulls it all away from you.
Dude, it's evil in its way. You know, it says, we read that it's like what, cunning, baffling, powerful in its own. And that's so true though. Yeah. It's such a slow grab, but it's like it makes such a huge impact that you're not even allowed to even like sift through that, what the impact is. And it's like the impact's not a little bit of time. It's like this is about to eat away 10 fucking years of your lifetime and you don't even know it or even believe it really. And then you look up and it's been 10 years of eating your life and here it is. And it started with whatever those small like seeds of or moments were where you could hang out and do a little bit in the morning and get it by at lunch. And then like, damn, okay, I can equalize my life with this shit. And then you look up and then the roles reverse. Like the addiction is like you're living your life in the addiction. You're not, you're not like preparing for all that stuff around it in terms or like, it's weird, dude. It's such a weird, I don't even know if you can necessarily like pinpoint or describe it perfectly. Besides the fact that it's just like slow, it's extremely powerful, and then all of a sudden you look up and blink, and it's controlled. It's absolutely what you're living for.
That's exactly it. Is that it's so incremental in our lives, and I think especially for people like us to where we're still, I mean, even at the worst, we're still using it to fill some kind of a void. Yeah, and so. For me at least, I was a really functional alcoholic, and it sounded like you were pretty functional as well, on heroin. And, it's like you can get by for so long and incrementally it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. But because it happens in such small stages, even when we're at a bad part in our lives, we still feel like it's okay and manageable. Yeah. Or we still tell ourselves that like, all right, well, today was a pretty bad, I'll be better tomorrow. I'll take a little bit less tomorrow. Or next week will be better, or fuck, I'm on these new supplements, that must be what's doing it. But the thought of, even at least how it was for me, was okay, well, alcohol, I can see now that it's fucking up my life, but I'm using that to be the person that makes me feel whole, so I still can't get rid of it. Like no matter what, like I mean, getting rid of this is not an option. I know that it's hurting me. I know that it's fucking me up. So what do I do now? I'm caught in a crossroads. Like I don't want to get sober because that's my jet fuel. That's the shit that makes me have fun. I've got romanticizing memories. This is my baby right here. So that was the hardest point of, in my crossroads, was trying to, figure out like, man, I don't want to get sober. How am I going to live my life? How am I going to have fun, do anything again? So,
and that's my experience is different with that though, because I'm trying to think and I always have to separate the alcoholism part from the drug addiction part. Like, and then of course there's a lot of similarities, but dude, there was a lot of time. I remember not wanting to get sober for like a brief time. And then I was like, fuck this. I want to, I want to be sober. Yeah. Like I want things to change, or I want my life to look a lot different. And it wasn't like, there was a time and it turned pretty quickly that love for that drug or whatever, that changed. Like it is like a love-hate type thing, but I think I hated it more. I just couldn't, the love for it that I couldn't really express was stronger than that. And then like, there's not and this, love can't defeat addiction. Love, there ain't nothing you can do it for. So it's like the biggest trap in all of that. But like there's a huge period of my life, 8 years of it is like, I don't know how the fuck to get out of this shit. Like I didn't know, I didn't know. I was so deep ingrained in it, and it wasn't like I could hold on to it it wasn't making my life any better no more. Like everything had gone. It was completely fucking wrecked. It was terrible. And then it's like, I don't know. That's the thing is like, I can't even describe or put into words either of like how it does that to you, or like how I am in that immediate mindset of when it's like wrapped me up so bad. Like I can't even remember how great it was to be off of it anymore type shit. What was it like? Like describe the roughest to where you were like, okay, this is the darkest time of my life. Yeah. Was there anything that came to you that was like, okay, I need to really put effort into this shit?
Mean, mine's the same as like, I really probably didn't want to use the last like 6 years. Like I hated it. Cause it like incrementally took everything away. And it has this interesting way of like, cause I think our brains will like kind of recalibrate homeostasis to wherever we're at. You know, like it talks about like not being able to differentiate the true from the false. You know what I mean? So it's like what it did was it would take my life and then I'd be like, oh, this is my new normal. Oh, this is my right because I'm functional, and then I'm working every once in a while. Then it's like then I'm in Arizona living in a pigeon coop most of the year, and then I go back to LA and I work for a few days to make enough money to come back to drink and like it would be like I lived these two really different lives. I had two completely different. Like I remember I'd leave Tucson and it's summertime and I have an old Datsun, you know, which for me was a house most of the time. And I'd put my dog in there, no AC, literally living in an old pigeon coop. And I would drive to LA just drenched in sweat, drinking nonstop. I'd get into LA, I'd get a haircut, I'd go to my dad's, I'd take a shower, and then I'd be work Damian. You know what I mean?
So that two sides of you, you're saying, like two different lives.
Yeah,
literally.
completely two different lives. Like, and I would live those, and I was like, well, as long as I have a little bit of this one, then maybe I'm still sane, you know? Plus, I fell in love with the other one as well. But yeah, I think it come the end, really, it got dark. I remember the first time when I figured out that I couldn't stop. For sure. Because I also was like, man, I'm a drug addict. I'm not trying to stop, you know? I didn't like it anymore, but I just figured I'd ride it till I died. And then it just wasn't happening, which was the worst. You know, it's like, my story is not like, if I use, I'm going to die. My story is like, I will definitively, but it's more like I'm going to suffer endlessly.
Yeah.
And that's the worst torture of all. Like, there would be times I'd be like, God, maybe tonight I'll die.
Yeah.
And then I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh, God, I got to do that all over again.
And that's so dark, but it's so true.
Because it gets so tiring having to do it. Because there's no option, no choice at a certain point. I have to drink or I have to get high. And I remember it was like, so I'm always switching between the two. I was out in Bisbee, Arizona, trying to rebuild a brand new life with this woman that I love. To polygraph test, I do literally anything for, you know, like. And I do the thing I always do where we get a place and I get a house and I'm going to do okay, you know, and I'm like trying not to do dope. I'm doing dope sometimes, but I'm mostly like, I'm trying to get sober at this point. Like we're trying all the different things. She's like, maybe if you just drink cheap beer, maybe if you just have 2 fancy beers, maybe if you don't drink whiskey, you know, like maybe if you only drink whatever, you know, like, so I'm trying all these new things. I'm on Suboxone. So I'm doing all the things that I know of, which is so limited, you know, but just like things that I think make sense, you know, because it hadn't like popped into my mind that I should ask someone for help. I'm just going to use my own brain to get out of this, which is absolutely insane. Yeah. And I remember she was like, so I would drink. I would shake my way to Circle K, which was at the end of our street, and like it would just be me and 3 homeless dudes as that chain would clink and they were opening those doors, and that was like church bells to me. I was just like, oh, thank God I can get this into me because I'm so sick. And so she was like, listen, man, tomorrow if I could just wake up and you're not trashed, like I would love that, you know. And I was like, you know what, I can do that 100%. I can do that for you. I love you. Like I'm trying hard. I don't know why this isn't working, but like I think tomorrow will be the new start date for this deal, you know? Yep. And
always tomorrow.
Yeah.
Always tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow's the day.
Tomorrow's the day,
yeah,
man.
Yeah. You know, I'll get some extra ashwagandha in me. So I remember I woke up and I was like, all right, all we have to do is make it from 5 to 8 a.m. Like we got this. It's all chill. And then like it was like I recognized for the first time that I didn't have control over my body. I remember I was filling up this like empty Gatorade container with coins, and I was like, "Don't do it, bro. Like we're not going down there." And my body's just autopilot, you know. Yeah. And it's just like taking me down, and I was crying, and I'm just like crying going down there, and I drink my fucking 10 high or whatever it is, you know. And I remember when she woke up, I was just bawling in the living room, and she came out and she's like, "What's going on?" I was like, "I'm drunk," and she was like, I asked you not to. And I was like, I need you to do me a favor. And she's like, what? I was like, shoot me. And I meant it. I was like, just kill me. Like, that was like, I was like, there's no way out. There's no fucking way out. Because I've been trying for years. Like, all that stuff I said, like I did. I moved way out. I moved out to a farm in Oregon that was so deep in the woods. And then a poppy field grew. And I just ate opium. You know what I mean? Like, I moved.
That's wild, though, how that works.
Just anywhere I went.
Yeah.
It's like, it's because it's everywhere.
Wherever I go, there I am.
Bro, it's just there. I moved to a farm out in Northern California, and they were like, oh, all the apple cider vinegar that we harvest. You know, because I'm like, if I'm around healthy people, I'll be healthy. Yeah. They made like 35 gallons of apple cider vinegar, and it all turned to booze. And she's like, it's booze. Is anyone here drinking? Everyone's like, no, we don't drink. It's hippies. You know what I mean? Beep. And I was like, oh, I drink a little bit. I'll check it out.
I drank
like 35 gallons of it, and then all the apple cider afterwards. And they just kicked me out.
They're like, you gotta go, dude.
Yeah, they're like, you're a psychopath. And so I remember that was a heavy point. And then with her, we went back to LA. She dropped me off. I asked her to take my dog. She's like, I'm not gonna take your dog because you're gonna kill yourself. You know, she left my dog. She left. I was living in an RV at this time. This like crazy RV that we half built at my dad's house, all fucked up. And so I went back to my dad's house. We ended up moving. It's like kind of the very end. We ended up moving out to the valley in California. We ended up living in the hood, and we're just like, it's just me and some of my family members. Yeah. We're just all out there. We're doing dope. And it was so depressing for me because it's like I moved all these people out because I thought I was making our lives better. You know what I mean? Now all of a sudden, and I always wanted to be like, you know, a leader. I'm older. You know, I wanted to be like, especially for my family, I want to be someone who can show people like what a good life is. And now I'm just like there. It's gone full circle terrible. You know what I mean? Like it's all wrong. We literally just do dope. I lay on the floor in front of this table. Literally all I do is lay on the floor. I barely will go anywhere. Like my life is nothing at all whatsoever. Just doing dope. I'm trying not to drink by doing dope. You know, the cycle's so tiring. I'm so tired of it. And I remember I went to Oregon one last time to go see my ex who had already dropped me off, who was already sick and tired of me 100%. And I had crossed the line that I was like, I had very few lines left. I'm like, I don't do this anymore. And one of them was just like, I don't lay my hands on women. You know, that was like a big one for me. That was like one of my like few moral platitudes that I could say, and I'd be like, well, I don't do that.
Yeah, no matter what.
Yeah. No matter what. Yeah, no matter how out of control I get, I don't do that. I'm not that dude. You know what I mean? Even though when I relook at my history, there's like some questionable things that I would say weren't good anyways.
Yeah.
And so I remember we were in Oakland, California, and I'm blacked out, and I kind of come to, and we're in the rain, and I'm like fighting her, you know? Like, and there was this moment where like, I just had that moment of clarity where like, it's like it popped, and I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Like, I have no idea and I stopped, and she was just like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I was like crushing her glasses and shit, just insane shit. And then like, I remember I walked, they were like, we can't drive you home, because a friend who was driving me home, she's like, we can't fuck with you. You know, like, we're not driving you home. And it was my first time being like homeless, like backpack dog, you know, like, can't get home. I'm in Oakland, California. I don't know where I'm going. And like, I ran into some other kids with face tattoos, went under the bridge. They wouldn't fuck with me because I was so drunk that we couldn't make money, like trying to like spange for money, being like, can you give us some? They're like, too drunk, bro. Like, I'm like, damn, dude, the fucking bridge dwellers won't mess with
even
me.
The homeless don't.
Yeah. I was like,
this is real bad.
Yeah.
It's a new person.
Yeah. I was like, I can't do this, man. Like, I was just like, I'd have to walk all night. And I ended up getting back to Cal. My mom bought me a train ticket. I told them I was a Vietnam vet or something so my dog could get on. Everyone was furious. I got back to California, did dope for probably another 6 months, lost all my friends. Yeah. All my everyone was like, we can't mess with you no more. Yeah. Like, you're violent, you're insane, you're too much of a liability now. Like, everybody's gone except my family. And I'm just doing dope there. And I remember I set up an altar, and this is like sick, but it just is what it is. I remember I like set up an altar, and I remember I like put some heroin on the altar, because it's the most important thing in my whole universe, you know? And I was like, God, I don't know. This is like my great offering to you. Like, please help me, you know? Like, and then of course I took it off and did it.
Oh,
yeah. You know, but like, well, I got mental health insurance because I was working. I made enough money that year because we were living in LA. So once I was living there, I could work again a little more seriously. And it came in, and I got the thing, and I was like, I can go to rehab. Like, I have mental health insurance. I can go to rehab right now. And I called this place on my own. I told everyone I was going camping because I'd live in the woods all the time. So I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm going camping. My phone's going to be off for a little while. Told my brother and my cousins, like, yo, I'm going to rehab. You know, like, gotta go. And I went to detox. It was only 8 days of rehab, but it was like, I don't know what. I wanted to get sober with all my heart. I would do literally anything, no matter what. Like, I was at that point where I was with drugs, with getting sober. I would do anything no matter what. Yeah. If they were like, yo, if you got to piss in this cup every day and put your hands in it, I'd do anything. Didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
And this guy like put me on this guy to like show me some program stuff. He was like, that guy, ask him to like show you the way. And I remember it was like, he was celebrating like 17 or something years, and his sponsor was there and all this, and I was shaking still so bad, you know. And like he was like, I want you to bring my cake up with all these guys. And like, I was just with all these sober men, like 150 years with everyone all around it. And I just felt that power. And I was like, this is possible. I didn't know anyone sober. You know what I mean? Like my cousin got sober, but I thought either that was like some kind of strange anomaly or he was lying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's full of shit.
Yeah, like I just didn't know anyone that did that. And so I just did that, and I just kind of followed the formula, you know? And I wish it would have, I could say that from that day on, I've been sober.
Yeah.
But it was definitely like my first introduction to it, and I stayed sober for 2 years, and it profoundly changed my life.
Yeah.
You know, and just the way that I saw things, and it gave me a new idea of what was possible, you know?
I think everybody needs that moment, you know, whatever that looks like for you. I don't, when the first introduction is to you to that this is possible type thing, or maybe that's a feeling of like freedom within spirituality that you don't even know is spirituality yet, but it's something you haven't necessarily felt before, but it lets you know that like, hey, this thing can happen, you know?
I think, I think that everybody, again, is kind of different in that area. You know, for some people, I think a lot of people do have like those burning bush moments, or like, you know, I think when the desperation gets so bad, when you can finally see or be around other people that give you that kind of hope is, you know, really, I mean, that's kind of a spiritual experience within itself. Yeah. You know, other people, it's just more gradual. You know, I mean, it takes a couple of months for them to start getting their life back, for them to start actually being able to interact with people again and be like, well, fuck, this is actually going okay. You know, and so it's really one of those things. That's how it was for me, at least. Like, because I never wanted to get sober. I got sober because my body was failing me. You know, my mental status was still there. Like, I was still able to do everything in my head that I wanted to do. But I mean, I was getting, you know, cirrhosis of the liver. Like, my kidneys were failing me. Like, I looked like shit. But when I first got sober, it just felt like a death sentence to me. Yeah. And it wasn't until probably a couple of months, or until, like, you know, literally we started building the fellowship around the house and whatnot, that I was like, you know what, man, my life's looking pretty good right now. Yeah, and I'm pretty thankful for that. So, you know, it's different with everybody, man.
Yeah. So tell me about now, because you got a daughter, Maya. Yeah. This is fucking wild, huh?
I'm stoked. It is wild.
I mean, like, I don't even just thinking about your life, and then.
Well, I was talking about that the other day. I work at a rehab, as you know.
Yeah.
And
me too.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. That's where I work. You know, and just like I was thinking about that moment, because my I did have some burning bush moments, but like my first sobriety was a prison sentence. All I literally did was think, don't drink or get high, and I would lock myself in a room for days on end. Like, I was just like, don't cause trouble. Yeah. And I didn't have freedom, you know, and that's why I relapsed. And that's why I think this one's been so different, is the feeling of freedom now, where I'm like, I'm building a life like that I love. Like, I'm building a life that I love. And yeah, at 33 years old, because I went back to that same house afterwards. Like, I went back to the same house, same people doing dope, same fucking gallons of piss on the floor and all that shit, you know? And it's like, I didn't know what I wanted. And that's why, like, I love when they're like, you could have a life beyond your wildest dreams. And that's because people think my wildest dreams on that day were so minuscule that it's insane. You know, my wildest dreams was just that I clean my room in the next month, you know, and that I maybe get a mattress off the floor. You know, it was like simple. My wildest dreams were not awesome.
Yeah. Right.
And it's like, to cut to like 7 years later, and I'm in Texas, which I didn't see coming, and I'm working in treatment, which I definitely didn't see coming, and I'm happily married, and I have a daughter, and I have this like group of friends that I love, and I have this life that's just super interesting and keeps me like engaged in life in like a really passionate way. And that's what I really didn't see coming, because I was just like, as long as I don't hurt people, man, I'll be happy. Yeah. Real martyr style. I love that. I love being a martyr. Yeah. Damn, for you guys.
Yeah, this is for y'all.
Yeah. and for it to flip, and to find the joy in helping others, you know, like, because I didn't get that at first. I was like, I know I have to do it, but I was one of those, like, I hate people, you know, and I still am to some extent, you know, but to find that joy now and getting to work with dudes, and just to get to see, because it's hard for me to see my life change, even though I can say all those things, and I know contextually it's been a big shift. It's easier for me to see it in other people. It's easier for me to see it in you. It's easier for me to see it in the guys that I get to watch do this thing, you know, than for me. And that oftentimes works as a mirror, because then I'm like, oh yeah, we're doing this. We're all doing this thing. Yeah. Like, It's just, yeah. I mean, having a daughter, I don't even know how to explain it, man. Like, it's just.
That's what everybody says.
Because you can't. That's the reason. Because you literally can't. Because there's nothing to compare it to. It's like, I didn't know love. Like, I didn't know what loving someone was till I had my daughter. You know, like, and don't get me wrong, I loved all those people. I did, and I do still to this day. But my love for her, like, because it's so tiring too. Like, I am tired, dude. Like, I'm tired, and I push it to the limit. And some days I wake up and I'm just like, today is like not my day. And like, I can't believe I have to do this again with her, because it's Groundhog Day with her. And then I walk in that room and her little head pops up and she got this goofy smile on, and I will do anything in the whole universe. Anything. I'll walk across the universe barefoot for her. You know, it's just like, it just does the thing.
Do you think your why got big enough?
I think
not saying for the addiction, but just in like that part of having a daughter, and all of a sudden, like, you know, I wake up and like, what's my why? And I'm sitting there looking at that grin or whatever you're talking about here. It's like, my why is really big now. It's big enough. Yeah. Is it powerful enough? It's
not powerful enough to. I know that if I don't do certain things, it won't be.
Yeah.
I mean, I just watched too many guys with kids come into rehab, so I know that girl won't keep me sober. Like, I literally need like the power of God, like literally. You know what I mean? Like,
for real.
Like, what a powerful problem to have. It's like the only thing that can deal with it is like the absolute power of God. But I think my why to move my feet has become bigger. I've definitely noticed it ever since Lauren's been pregnant. My drive to better myself has become exponentially larger. You know, because I'm just like, because I'm the first man that she'll spend time with, and I want to be the best man possible. Like, I want to build that thing. Plus, I could potentially be like one of the first men in my family to be sober her whole life, which would be, I just get to break a cycle, which is amazing. You know, and I didn't get too much into my story with my family, but like, my dad drank when I was younger, and it was a fucking nightmare. And now he's sober, you know, and we have this amazing relationship, and it's like we're each kind of chipping away at this deal. And so, yeah, I think it's definitely rooted me into some whys that are brand new for me.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's wild, man. That's one of those stories where I think so many people can relate to, you know, just from, you know, the actual ins and outs of like struggling through the mindset of addiction, to where it's just like, you know, some days you just absolutely, it's just so, I think you hit it on the head, where it's so exhausting all the time. You know, it's when we look back and it just surprises me how much energy, you know, we put into our addictions all the time. And, you know, for me, it was just sun up, sun down, like just the constant waiting. You were saying, like, when they take the chains off the door at the liquor store, that was like church bells. Like, I mean, I remember that just vividly. You know, just sitting there in my car, I'd have NPR on the radio. I'd be sitting there sweating and just be like, man, I got to get to work soon. Like, you need to hurry up, fucking open. Like, you know, like, this has got to move, man. But so, you know, like, let's kind of dive into like, so what's your life look like now? You know, now that, you know, you're on this path, and you know, you have a daughter and whatnot, you work in addiction, but what are some of the steps that you take
in which way
to keep yourself sober?
I'm like a 12-step guy. So I work a program. I just do it pretty textbook. Like, I think that's like one of the big things that I've learned that I implement in a lot of areas of my life now is like, it's okay to ask for help and to get mentors. Because for me, that's how I see it. All I need to do is find someone who's done what I'm looking to do and ask them how they did it. That's how I learned everything. That's how I learned to rig. That's how I learned anything that I've done in my life. Like, is by apprenticeship, basically, you know? And so once I switched it to make it more simple and not make it so insanely complex, which it is and it isn't, you know? Like, I think the philosophy of how to get sober, it's too complex to understand. And I just watch too many people dive bomb trying to figure it out. It's like, just chill out and do the thing. Like, so I just kind of follow the recipe now, to the extent that I do. You know, it's always in flux. I wish I did everything perfect, but I do nothing perfect.
Do you feel like this thing is in addiction and alcoholism? Is it like forever progressive for you, or is this thing in concrete of how we do things? You know what I'm saying? In terms of like your life, like with getting sober and staying sober longer, like, are you learning like how is it, you know, when you first get sober and you start doing these steps, right? Or you start living life in principle, does that broaden at all, or is it like, this is my firm foundation, I will not stray away from this? Or are you learning that, like, that is my foundation, that is what I come back to, and I'm learning to like implement these things in my life? So I guess what I'm trying to say is that my life I don't fit recovery. I don't fit my life into recovery. I fit my recovery into life now.
Yeah.
Does that make sense at all?
I think it's a place that I grow from. You know, like I was talking to my wife about it, and I was like talking about my life as like spinning plates. Like if you were spinning plates on a stick, and I keep adding one. You know, it's like, and I'll get that one. Like at first, all I have is the recovery, so I got to like get that one spinning, right? And that one's like tricky because I haven't been doing it. And then you add a job, and then you got to kind of keep them both going. But you got to keep this one. For me, if my recovery falls, everything else falls. It is my foundation. I've done this too many times. I've built from that foundation and then pull the foundation.
It's gone.
House of cards, bro.
Yeah.
Whole life, everything gone. Click, click, click. Especially when you live first off, I lose my job. I work in recovery. They're not going to stoked. Then my wife kicks me out for certain.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, everything's
gone.
Gone. So it's like, but how I see it is like it's a place that I build from, because I can just keep adding to it. I don't have to. Potentially, like I guess if I felt satisfied, which I don't, because I seem to have like, and that's the thing about this, like this thing that we have, and this like fire, and how obsessive compulsive we are, and that we like obsessively think about it and compulsively do it, is I think once you learn to point that at anything, that we become these, it's a superpower. Like the other side of the coin is this like intense drive that people don't understand. Like people don't understand how I lived like that, and then when I do anything else, because I do everything like I do drugs. And I don't know if I'm supposed to find balance. I was told that, and I've tried it, but I've given up on that because it's just not in me, you know? So I just gun it on everything. And it's just like, it becomes this thing where I'm like, we have this ability. We have an ability to suffer greatly and to sacrifice almost at all costs when we want something, you know? Like, yeah, you'll be late to work, sitting at 5 a.m., sweating, waiting for some booze. Like, and that's just to get some fucking booze. Yeah. Now it's like, what if we can turn that on anything and go, you know? So I'm just like,
I like the superpower. I like that. Yeah, I think I've heard you share about that before. This is my superpower. Yeah, you know what I mean? Which is so true if you use that the right way, man. It's there's nothing that's necessarily like impossible. Right. You know, it's like if you can turn this energy into something good, or for your life, or in your family, all those things. It's like this mountain is like forever can be built taller and taller and taller.
Yeah, and my buddy Joe really put me on that. Like, one of the last times I got sober, I started running, and he's like, Damian, I want you to, instead of trying to crush your addiction, because it's in you, like instead of trying to get rid of it, I want you to use that same energy and point it at what you're about to do. And it was crazy, because then, of course, I went from like jogging 10 miles to running ultra marathons, because it's just like, that's how I do things. Just full blast. Like my first race, I'm like, I'm going to run 50 miles. And people are like, you haven't run 12 miles. And I was like, I don't do anything like that. I'm gonna do it. I don't care.
It's all or nothing.
I'm either gonna finish or I'm gonna die, because that's how I've done everything. Yeah. And then it works. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I do things like a drug addict, and I just burn the house down. Yeah. Everyone's like, chill out.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Wow. So what's the recovery like? Like, what's the world out there? What's going on out there, man? What are you seeing from your perspective and working in treatment, and how's it going? Are we at the same spot as we've always been, or what's the feed on that, man?
I think, I just want to preface this by saying I don't know.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah. Great answer.
Let me start by saying I don't know, but I'll give some opinions.
Yeah, I love the opinions.
Yeah, I think that, I think we're just like in brand new territory with just the fentanyl stuff that's going on. Yeah. Like it's wild just how, first off, how young people are coming into doing some of the strongest drugs that have ever existed. You know, and now all these new variants of it. And it's like the hard part is some of the stuff that worked before doesn't work now. Like I can't be like, oh, you're not sure if you're a fentanyl addict? Go out and do more fentanyl today. Because
you can't say that.
Yeah, what are the odds that that's going to work out?
No, because we're just burying kids by the dozen now. Yep. You know what I mean? Young kids too. Like it's.
I'm talking about middle school kids, man.
Yeah,
getting on this fentanyl.
Yeah, I've been going and talking to these kids, and I mean, they're in like 8th grade, 7th grade, talking about already getting Narcan. Like just like, you know, bro, we were just like maybe eating acid and listening to Wu-Tang, and like they're like on some doing fentanyl and having Narcan on them. Like why? Like I don't know. So there's that piece of it, and then I think recovery scene is what recovery scene's always going to be. It's like half or more snakes, and then there's like some people in it with big hearts that are like pretty determined to try to help people. You know, there's just anything, I think, where there's money, there's going to be a mix of it just brings a certain thing to the table.
Yeah.
What would you recommend for somebody, you know, say, you know, to family members, you know, say that it's a son or a daughter or someone who's struggling, and, you know, people who are just, you know, one, brand new to the industry, they're naive, they're coming into this blind, you know, and they're trying to find, you know, the right treatment center for somebody, or they're trying to find the right place to send them. You know, what would be your first move or first recommendation for somebody like that?
I'd say call multiple places.
Yeah.
You know, because first off, the person you're talking to is a salesman.
Exactly.
And hopefully they're good at their job, you know, just because that is their job and they should be good at what they do.
Yeah.
But their job is to get you to get that person into their place, you know.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's important to talk to multiple places, you know, and then I think it's always best when you can talk to people that have been there, you know, like I think word of mouth builds something really important where you can be like, but it's hard because not everyone has that, man. You're in the middle of God knows what state in a town where there's no one you know has ever done anything like this, and you call some random place in California and they're like, dude, we got you for $65 million. We're going to put your son in our spa and he's going to come out. He's literally never going to do drugs again.
Yeah, he's going to be a new man.
And you're like, okay, cool. And then 18 treatment centers later when you sold your house and, you know, and
you're divorced from his mom and it's a mess.
And see, that's just the complicated part about it, is that these people are acting out of desperation.
Yeah.
You know, and you're on a pretty limited time window. You know, I mean, if, you know, little Johnny's doing fentanyl, you know, we don't have 2 months to research a whole bunch of places and go visit him and do tours or whatnot. Like, he needs to go in tomorrow, you know? So I think that's one of the things that makes this initial process so difficult.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, like you said, you know, the admissions people are always good at their jobs. You know, they have everything that he needs right on hand.
They're also drug addicts.
And exactly.
You know what I mean?
They can relate, you know, and it's just,
so they're going to reel you in. I think he's right too. And great question, by the way, because I think that's the thing is, and I always talk about getting on the roller coaster. You're going to get on it sometime.
Yeah.
You're not going to dodge it. It's when you get off, that's up to you type thing. But the more information you can get, the more resources you can reach out to early, the better. Yeah. I think in my opinion, the word of mouth thing is like me sitting next to you who's got sobriety and has been through all this shit, talking to you about what do you think about this treatment center, or hey, this is how I did it. I think you can get sober anywhere, absolutely. Yeah. But I also think there are good places and there are shitty places. Yeah. But so I think like sitting down next to an alcoholic or drug addict that's in the middle of this, maybe that doesn't even have any feet, like, you know, irons in the fire, even to like, give you a perspective that you need. Because sometimes I do think that people get sober, they get in this industry and they don't know it, but their disease is just as strong. The only thing they're not doing is shooting dope or drinking anymore. It's just manifested itself into something like very dishonest. Yeah. And the integrity is gone. There is no principle anymore. They've rooted their shit around greed, which most normal people do. And it gets really messy, you know, and it makes it hard for the good guys like yourself, you know, that are out here trying to actually help people out truly. Unfortunately, it does cost money, but there are resources.
And I feel it. I mean, there's times that I'm like, man, I need to go make some more money. So I get the feeling of it, you know? So I don't fault people on that. I wish it wasn't the case, but I do think like the desire to, if someone really wants it, man, I almost don't think it matters.
Yeah.
I really don't, because even the best places have bad numbers.
Oh yeah.
Nowhere's if there was a place that could fix people, they would have a wait list forever, and could cost literally any amount of money, infinite amount of money.
If it was a definite, you're going to get sober.
It would just be it would be like taking a ride on a space shuttle. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like, that's what it is. Like, so it's like, there are better places, but I think if someone, you know, it's like, I didn't stay sober forever and that was my fault, but my first place I went to was like, had a pay phone and I was there for 8 days. Yeah. You know, and I'm not saying that's everyone's experience, and I've seen people go to the best rehab 6 times.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's the best rehab? You know, that's the thing. I guess it's all.
It depends on what your style.
Yeah.
You know, because it just depends.
Well, and what's interesting too, though, is like it seems like this thing is only funneled towards a certain like demographic. Oh. Like I've been looking at places and like their Instagram posts, it's like, dude, this shit looks like this is so studio product. It looks like it should be on a fucking brochure. It's like, you know, those weird, awkward actors that are hired, holding hands, walking off into the sunset. This is how we cured our. And the thing, dude, is like what my experience is this shit is messy. If you think this is a cookie cutter, like we're gonna talk about your emotions and get down to the root of this, and you're gonna be fixed, like. good fucking luck, dude. Because like you, bro, you're living in a fucking chicken coop, dog. You know what I mean? Like the same thing. And I'm not, I'm not like at your expense. Like it's the same thing with me. I've lost everything in my life, dude.
You
like
really
I'm shooting dope,
and
I'm fucking in the hospital. And I got shit. I've ruined everything with it. And it's like I just think like it's so funny how the fucking light is shined on this certain specific demographic, and the reason is because that demographic can pay for it. It's like, why does Lamborghini not have commercials? Well, you ask Lamborghini, is like they're like, well, the ones that are watching the commercials, we don't want them driving our car. You know what I mean? So it's like.
And that's like a whole can of worms. Like,
yeah, I know,
and like,
I know.
That could be a 5 million hour conversation.
I know.
Because it is hard, and that's a part, and that's heartbreaking, honestly.
Yeah.
Like if you walk in any rehab, you're gonna see a lot of the same looking motherfuckers coming from the same kind of background, and it's like because they have the resources to do it.
Yeah.
And then even like here in Austin, I think some of the places that were around that were freer have shut down. And so it
costs money.
Becomes a real nightmare. Like I remember when my little cousin, he had no money. He was trying to get in. Like the best you can do sometimes is like say you're going to kill yourself to get into an emergency room to maybe kick and then get on some wait list that's God knows how long and your window's this big, so
what do we do? How do we help that? Is there like when are the people going to step up and not like when is that going to be pushed the narrative enough to where we got to do something? Or do we always just sit back and be like it is what it is? Because nothing's going to change if nothing changes in that.
Well, I think there are places that you can go for free that have like $1 donation. That like there are. I mean, people used to get sober without rehabs. Like the idea that rehab is necessary to me is not correct. Like I think it's helpful, but I don't think it's necessary. This last sobriety, I didn't get sober in a rehab. I also knew what to do. But, I mean, there was a time and place where rehabs were not the only way to do it. And I think that if we could build those fellowships into stronger, more connected pieces of a puzzle, that I do think there's something there. Because I think trying to change the whole industry is... well,
that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's too ingrained. It's too established.
Yeah, I think like taking personal responsibility in some ways is like, how can we help more people? How can I help more people?
Yeah.
Where can I be more effective? And for me, that's what like being able to do stuff that's like on the internet or stuff like that. It reaches more people because random person in Arkansas sees this and they're like, oh my gosh, there's someone out there going through it. So it's like, how do we get information further out? It's a cool time to do it. It's free. Yeah. You could do it with a cell phone.
Yeah, there's more. I think you're right. I think the community's got to get stronger, and I think that's where it really can like manifest itself.
It's more people speaking up about their own experiences. Really, I think that people who have gone through it, need to be more vocal and open about it, and that way, like you said, someone somewhere is going to hear it, and you never know where that's going to ricochet or who that might help. And I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, a lot of people don't like voicing or, talking about their past or about their addictions or whatnot. But I mean, in my opinion, if it saves one person's life, then that's small potatoes. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it is what it is.
It's what it is.
I definitely had that experience with because when I first got sober, I went to work in the movie industry, and I didn't have to be that anonymous because I look like a drug addict. So I was just like, I'm sober. And it was... Never was there a time that someone didn't want to talk about, hey, my little brother, hey, my cousin, hey, my dad, hey, me. You know what I mean? Never. Not once. Like, I helped so many people just being in the world, being who I was, and being open about it. So I love that. I think that's a huge piece. It's like, let's take the fucking stigma off it. Just be like, this is what I went through. This is where I'm at now. Like, who doesn't want a fucking hero story? Why has this become, like, I don't get it.
Instead of wearing it like shame, wear it like a badge of honor. Fuck it. I mean, you went through hell and back to get here, and you're here.
Yeah.
So I mean,
you don't have to maybe tell it in your job interview.
Yeah. I
wouldn't lead with that.
I wouldn't lead with the pigeon coop story, but
you gotta ease your way into that.
Well, then it becomes something powerful.
Yeah.
And I think we all need a little bit of that. I think we need all in this, like even in this world we're in right now, like we all need a little bit of that hope.
Yeah.
But I need a little bit of like encouragement. We need a little bit of the hero story more so.
Absolutely, man.
Well, that's about all the time we got, man. Thanks for coming by, dude. I love you, dude.
I love you.
God, I love you, man.
Damian, it's been great catching up with you, dude. It's been an experience, man.
Yeah. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate it.
So, guys, make sure you check it out. We got the podcast that's been coming up. We also have Drew's story that it was recorded last week coming out, and then we'll let you know who our next guest is as long as we make it. So, anyways, Damian, again, thank you so much, man. We appreciate you guys, and till then, we see you next time.
See you guys.
See you next time. Who is Jack?